It started with a text. Hey, would it be okay if I stayed at yours for like 2 weeks? I just got out of a bad roommate situation and need time to reset. I'll be super low maintenance. It was my cousin, Leah. We weren't close, but we'd grown up around each other. She bounced between cities, jobs, boyfriends. I always figured she was just a little chaotic, not malicious. I said yes. I was in a one-bedroom apartment, decent rent, nothing fancy. I figured I'd sleep on the couch, let her take the bed. 2 weeks max. She showed up with 2 bags, an air mattress, and a suitcase of skincare products. Week 1 was fine. We barely talked. She ordered her own food, kept to herself. Said she was applying for places outside the city. Week 2 came and went. No sign of her moving. I asked casually if she'd had any luck with apartments. She said, everything's so expensive right now, but I've got a couple leads. She never showed me anything. Just vague answers and longer showers. Every day she used my shampoo, my towels, my laundry pods. Then she started inviting friends over, people I didn't know late at night. I told her I needed sleep. She said I was being uptight. By the end of the first month, she'd fully moved into the bedroom. I was living on my own couch, tiptoeing around my own kitchen, with a woman who treated me like a guest in my apartment. One day I came home and the bathroom shelf had been reorganized, my stuff pushed into a drawer, her face creams lined up like a display case. I told her I needed my space back soon. She just blinked. I thought we agreed I could stay until I found a place. She used that line every time I brought it up. Until I find a place. Like it was a contract. Like I'd signed something. The second month, she stopped doing dishes, left makeup wipes on the floor, had a guy over who stayed 4 nights in a row and chain smoked on the balcony. My neighbor complained. I told Leah to tell her guests not to smoke. She rolled her eyes and said, you're seriously micromanaging me right now. Chill. I started locking up my stuff. Wallet, meds, charger. She used my laptop once when hers froze. My accounts were still open. My Venmo was logged in. I changed all my passwords. That same week, she started getting packages, delivered in her name to my address. I asked about it. She said, they wouldn't deliver to the Dropbox, so I just used yours. Chill. But she wasn't using mine. She was acting like it was hers. She put her name on the mailbox with Sharpie, taped it, like it was official. Then, on the third rent cycle since she arrived, she offered me $200 in cash. Said it was her part. I told her again she was a guest, not a roommate. I didn't want her money. I just wanted her to move out. Soon. She scoffed. I've been paying for groceries. You're acting like I'm squatting. That word stuck in my head. Squatting. I Googled it that night. Read forums, landlord subreddits, tenant laws in my state. I felt the heat rise in my chest as I realized, after 30 days, she might legally be considered a resident, even with no lease, even with no rent, even with no verbal agreement. If she could prove she'd lived here that long, she could claim rights. And I hadn't written anything. No guest agreement, no end date, nothing. That's when I started keeping records. I took pictures of the calendar, her packages, my texts asking her to move out. I emailed myself notes. I wanted a paper trail. Because something had shifted. She wasn't being flaky anymore. She was being strategic. On week 10, I came home and my keys didn't work. She'd changed the lock. She told the building manager I'd moved out. She told them she was temporarily taking over the lease because I'd left for another state. She gave them some mail in her name, showed them texts that made it look like I'd given her the place. The manager called me, confused. I had to bring my lease agreement and ID in person to prove I still lived there. Leah texted me after that. Wow, so dramatic. If you want me out, just say it like an adult. Like I hadn't been saying it for weeks, like I was the one escalating. She said I could have my keys back once we talk. I called a lawyer the next day because now it wasn't about being polite. It was about getting my home back. The lawyer didn't sound surprised. He asked if she paid rent. I said no, if we had a written agreement. Number. If she'd ever contributed to the lease or signed anything. Still no. Then he asked, how long has she been there? I said, this is month 4. He exhaled. Legally, she may now qualify as an unlawful occupant. That means you'll need to go through formal eviction. You can't just kick her out. I said, she's my cousin. She was supposed to stay for 2 weeks. He said, doesn't matter. You let her stay. She stayed long enough. That gives her tenant rights in this state. So I couldn't just change the locks. I couldn't move her stuff. I couldn't shut off utilities. All I could do, legally, was serve her a formal notice to vacate. 3 days to leave or I file an eviction. I posted the notice on the door, emailed her a copy, took photos of both. She replied by blasting me in a group text to my extended family. He's trying to evict me in the middle of a housing crisis. I thought family meant something. Only one cousin replied, "You good?" Everyone else ignored it. 2 days later, I got an email from my apartment building's tenant relations office. Subject line, complaint received, alleged harassment of occupant. Leah had filed a formal grievance. She said I was creating a hostile domestic environment, that I had threatened her stability, and was pressuring her into unsafe housing. She listed her address as my unit. They had to open a file. I was stunned. I lived there for 4 years, paid rent on time every month, never had a single complaint. Now I was being flagged as a risk in my own apartment. I called the office. They said they couldn't take sides until the process played out. If the courts deemed she wasn't a lawful occupant, they'd remove the complaint. But until then, she stayed. I filed for eviction that week. $94 to submit it. 3 weeks to get a hearing. In the meantime, she weaponized everything. She turned off the AC when I was out, unplugged the fridge by mistake, used all the hot water every morning, ate half the groceries I bought, and claimed they were hers because she'd cleaned the kitchen. I installed a camera in the living room, motion activated, pointing only at the front door. When she saw it, she said it was illegal surveillance. I checked with my lawyer. He said as long as it wasn't in a private space, like a bathroom or bedroom, it was legal. She started wearing headphones and sunglasses in the house like she was being spied on. Every day I documented things, every passive-aggressive note, every door slam, every party she held for her mental health. It was like living with a hostile stranger who knew she had leverage. The final week before the hearing, I came home to find a letter slid under my door. Typed, dated, signed, Leah. I am informing you that I am exploring legal action regarding the undue stress and unsafe emotional conditions I have endured while residing at my address. She claimed I'd sabotaged her job search, that I'd created an environment that prevented her from securing long-term housing, that I had exploited her vulnerability and caused emotional damages. I showed it to my lawyer. He laughed once, then went serious. She's setting the groundwork to claim retaliatory eviction. She's hoping to delay the case or flip it. I asked what to do. He said, don't engage, don't reply, show up to court, bring records, stick to facts. That weekend, she invited her mom to stay over. I came home to both of them sitting in my living room like I didn't exist. Her mom asked if I could be the bigger person. I said nothing, because being the bigger person didn't get my apartment back. Filing the eviction did. Court was quiet. Small civil division building, same floor where they handle unpaid rent cases, minor disputes, housing violations. People in wrinkled shirts holding folders. No shouting, no drama. Just people trying to survive paperwork. My name was called at 10:45. Leah was already inside. She didn't look at me. She wore glasses, neutral colors. She had papers in her hand. I recognized them. Photocopies of texts, a few receipts, a letter from a therapist dated 2 weeks earlier about housing insecurity. The judge looked tired. Civil calendar. Too many cases in one morning. He asked if this was a standard eviction proceeding. I said yes, I was the leaseholder. Leah was not. She had no signed agreement, no payment history, no proof of tenancy beyond mail she sent to herself. She said she was staying with consent, that I'd invited her and gave mixed messages about how long she could remain. She said I'd accepted cash at one point, $200, which created a de facto rental arrangement. I had screenshots of texts saying repeatedly, "You're not paying rent. This is a short stay. I need my space back." I showed the judge. showed the dates, showed that the $200 was unsolicited, and returned via bank transfer with the note, declined, not rent. She interrupted a few times, said I was trying to ruin her life, said I hadn't been compassionate. Judge stopped her, said this wasn't about feelings. This was about housing status and tenancy rights. Then came the question that mattered. Do you have any legal right to occupy this property? A lease, sublease, rental agreement, or documented understanding that grants you tenancy? She paused, then said, No. But I have rights as a resident. He asked again, Do you have legal tenancy? She didn't answer. The judge ruled. Eviction granted. She had 10 days to vacate. After that, sheriff's department had the right to remove her physically. She didn't cry, didn't react. Just stood, collected her papers, and walked out. I stayed. The clerk gave me the formal order, said I could file for enforcement if she refused to leave. I didn't trust her to go quietly, so I scheduled the enforcement ahead of time. 10 days, 8 a.m., I'd be ready. She left on day 9, not a word, just gone. I came home to a note on the fridge. This could have been handled better. You chose force. I'll heal from this, but you've changed how I see you forever. There was no apology. The place smelled like her candles. Some drawers were still open. She took my pillowcases. She left behind 3 boxes of random stuff and 2 fake plants. I threw out everything the same day. It wasn't relief, not really. It was a vacuum, like when noise suddenly stops and your brain takes a second to process the silence. For 4 months, I lived in tension. Now I was waiting for it to come back. A knock, a call, a text, but nothing came. That weekend, I blocked her number, locked my mailbox, changed the locks again, wrote a short document for myself with new guest rules, in case I ever forgot how this happened. I haven't talked to her since. She's still in the city, according to someone else in the family. Every now and then, I get a DM from some unknown account saying I should have acted like family. I don't reply, because here's what I learned. Family isn't who you help, it's who respects the help you give. And when they don't, they're just strangers with a deeper backstory.